arrow and spell it in the margin.
And so people keep coming up to Aaron personally and talking to her about the lessons, and then like nothing that they don't like it. You don't know you're that. I mean, I want some people you gotta put like the whole bottle once. If you don't think it works, then either you don't like it, or you're not putting it in the right place. Exactly. So now we have to like fish that. I hate fish that don't get this done. Indiana guys are so cute. I hate fishnets for the burning platform. They tear and go. They tear. But then also, when you're done with the dance, when you take them off, there's like lines. You wear. Oh, we were not. I've never had it. They were like, no, you can't do that. I'm like, girl, what do you want? Like, I'll never do that. I have the same thing for 4 years. The other thing is those rhinestones, like,
You getting everyone accounted for?
Okay, here, your chest costume, think of it this way, it's a black top and then, booty shorts. The black top is entirely.
Anyone else you need help with?
So like, they literally took masking tape and made a few lines just to create a pattern, but the entirety of the rest of it is just, and it's called Kango rhinestones. It's really cool.
Okay, guys, let's get started while Cora and Cora here are wrapping up attendance. You get it all wrapped up? Good job, thank you. All right, phones down, heads up. How's everyone doing? Good. Hey, I think we're going live here too on YouTube. I see 4 people on, so definitely send me something in chat if you can't hear or see or anything like that. But hopefully you can hear and see okay. So I subbed for Pastor Adder a couple of weeks ago when he was at another church guest preaching. I'm here again this week because he's out of town. So I think most of you were here a couple of weeks ago, but for those of you that weren't and those online, my name is Trenton Travis. I've helped out with Pastor Adder quite a bit on, some of the youth stuff, whether it be Bible class or some of the youth trips or activities that he's gone on. Obviously, we've kind of lessened that quite a bit over the last year due to COVID, and it's just been him kind of flying solo, but happy to help out with him here while he is out of town, and probably a little bit more in the near future as he kind of rotates his guest preaching duties with Vicar and Pastor Schultz. So with that, any questions before we get started? All right, so today's Bible study for you guys is titled One Who Has Authority. And it is based on Mark chapter 1, verses 21 through 28. And for those of you that were at the 8 o'clock service, whether in person or online, that happened to be the gospel reading for today, and also the reading by which Pastor Schultz read. So if you're paying attention, hopefully this fits in well with what you've already heard. For those of you that haven't, well, this will be kind of a whet your appetite, if you will, if you're going to be attending or viewing the later church. So let's get us kicked off with kind of a question to maybe kind of crack the ice a little bit. Share with the group a time when you felt especially powerful and why. Think of a time recently or at some point in your life where you felt powerful, and why did you feel that way, Cora?
When I won a game of Call of Duty.
When you won a game of what?
Call of Duty.
Call of Duty. You felt pretty powerful, like you were better than all the rest. Yeah. Yeah. When what? Okay. Yeah. So kind of along the same lines. Anyone else? A time when they felt powerful and why?
When someone was being mean to one of my friends in my school, and that makes me feel powerful.
One of your friends was kind of being bullied and you stood up for him and it made you feel a little bit powerful. What about anyone? Yeah. You did, you? All right. Was it your brother? Oh. You could probably do that to your brother though too, right? Yeah. Yeah, what about anyone else? Anyone that's like plays sports or anything like that? Or any sort of competition where you ended up winning and made you feel a little bit powerful, top of your game type of thing? Yeah, Cora.
Well, last year, that's the basketball season, when I was playing, we won the entire tournament.
When you won the entire tournament during basketball season, yeah, made you feel a little bit powerful, right? Anything else? Anyone else have any stories to share about a time when they felt especially powerful?
I beat my dad at Mario Kart.
When you beat your dad at Mario Kart, and why did that make you feel powerful?
Because he's always annoying and I think
He's annoying and you always think he's cheating, so it felt pretty good, huh? Yeah.
Whenever I arm wrestle with kids at high school and I win.
Yeah. That's a good one. Cora, one more and then we'll dive into our reading.
If my family and I have a whole bunch of Nerf guns, and sometimes we just go all out and have a Nerf war in our house. And sometimes I win, kind of.
You dominate in Nerf wars. Very good. All right, those are all very good examples, and I'm sure if we continue to bring up examples, you would think of many more. But there's often times in your life where you feel like you're the king of the hill, if you will, and feel very powerful. But as we all know, it's short-lived, right? Maybe it lasts for a few moments, maybe a few days, maybe a couple weeks, whatever. But ultimately it diminishes. So let's get out your phones, get out your Bibles, and we're going to read Mark chapter 1, verses 21 through 28. And since we have people online as well, I'll go ahead and read it so that they can hear it. But I'll give you guys a few moments to get it pulled up. Mark chapter 1, verses 21 through 28. Jesus heals a man with an unclean spirit. And they went into Capernaum, and immediately on the Sabbath he entered the synagogue and was teaching. And they were astonished at his teaching, for he taught them as one who had authority and not as the scribes. And immediately there was in their synagogue a man with an unclean spirit. And he cried out, "What have you to do with us, Jesus of Nazareth? Have you come to destroy us? I know who you are, the Holy One of God." But Jesus rebuked him, saying, "Be silent and come out of him." And the unclean spirit, convulsing him and crying out with a loud voice, came out of him. And they were all amazed, so that they questioned among themselves, saying, "What is this? A new teaching with authority? He commands even the unclean spirits, and they obey him." And at once his fame spread everywhere throughout all the surrounding region of Galilee. So our first question today, in Mark chapter 1, verses 21 through 28, Jesus drives out from a man an evil spirit. The people who were standing around watching were amazed at what they saw. They exclaimed, "What is this? A new teaching and with authority." Why did the people react this way to Jesus's thinking or teaching? Why did people react this way to Jesus's teaching? So when they said, "What is this? A new teaching and with authority." Why do you think people reacted this way? Cora.
Maybe it was because Jesus' teaching was different from the Pharisees' teaching, and he was able to drive out unclean spirits.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So the teachers and rabbis that perhaps the people were used to hearing from maybe didn't take it quite as deep, or maybe didn't, live out the readings the way that Jesus did or does. Anyone else? So how do you guys think a rabbi, just the rabbis that they were used to, how do you think their message would have been? How do you think it would have been different? Or if a man had come into the synagogue, such as the man that Jesus encountered, how would have those rabbis addressed him? Yeah.
He probably would have said that he is being sinful and that he isn't going to go to heaven and that he cannot be forgiven because of what he's done.
Yeah, you think they would have told him to get lost? Get out of here. We're having church. You're disrupting. Yeah. What else? Anyone else have any ideas? Yeah, Cora.
If he refused to go away, they might have arrested him.
Yeah, might have arrested him, absolutely, and punished him physically. Right. All right, very good. Yeah, I mean, Jesus obviously, we know this, that Jesus was God, right? And but here's a case where he is clearly different, or at a different level, or more powerful in terms of the people that they were used to seeing previously preaching in the synagogue. So I touched a little bit on power. We've also touched a little bit on authority, and we're, I think, seeing both at play here in Mark 1, verses 21 through 28. So how is power different from authority? Yeah, Cora.
Well, when you have authority, you have the right to do something, but with power, you cannot have authority when you have power. So you can just do things without having authority. So authority is having the right to do it, and power is having the strength.
Okay. So authority is someone, right? An organization or a group of people or a person has given you authority to direct, to lead, to be over a group of people or a nation. Is that fair with how you described it? And then power is perhaps your ability to influence, your ability to lead, your ability to make people do things or drive change, but no one has given you that power in the same way as authority, right? We all have, so would it be fair to say that we all have a certain element of power? It may be small, it may be huge, but we may not have any authority. I mean, it's possible that some of you have some level of authority in your life. Maybe you're a leader of a group at school or outside of school, or maybe you're the captain of your sports team or something like that. That's a element of authority. But by and large, you guys don't have much authority granted to you, but you do have some power, right? And I get it, right? I mean, your power may be limited, but we all have some amount of power in our lives. Would that be a fair statement, Cora? What about anyone else? Anyone else have any thoughts on kind of the difference between power and authority? I often, you can also, a lot of times in the business world anyway, we talk about leadership and managers, or leaders and managers, and they're not necessarily the same thing, right? You can be a good manager, but maybe you're not a good leader. You can be a good leader, but maybe you're not a manager. A manager is put in charge of a group of people or a department, or what have you, in a work environment. But a leader in a work environment is someone that commands influence, that people look to, whether formally or informally, for direction, advice, mentorship, that type of stuff. So I kind of see the same type of parallels here with the power and authority. What else? Anyone else have any observations or questions? Well, let's talk about some specific examples. So I've got a list of 8 people, or 8 types of people, like by vocation, that I'm going to talk about. And I want you to think about it when I say their name or their job title. Do they have authority, power, or both? Right? So do they have authority, power, or both? And if so, over who and what for? How did they acquire authority, and how do they use their authority? So we'll go through each one of those questions here separately as we talk about some of these different people or vocations. So the first one we're going to talk about is Taylor Swift. Who's Taylor Swift? I know who Taylor Swift is. Just messing with you guys. Yeah, so she's a singer, right? Probably one of the more recognizable pop artists, and you can like her or not like her or whatever, but I think it's objectively, right, probably one of the top singing performers that are around today in terms of money made, records sold, not records. Well, I don't know what you call them today. Tracks sold, downloads sold, streaming, videos, all that good stuff, right? She gets a lot of attention, a lot of awards, and all that other good stuff. So thinking about Taylor Swift, does she have authority? Does she have power, or does she have both? She has power. Okay. Power. Anyone else? Anyone think she has authority? Can Taylor Swift tell you to make your bed? I mean, I guess you can, but right. Just because Taylor Swift tells you to make your bed doesn't mean you have to, or there will be consequences. Unless, of course, you're her daughter or something, I suppose, or son. I don't think so. I don't know. She doesn't seem like she would be old enough to have kids, but anything's possible, I suppose. So she has. So I think, and I would agree with that, right? I think she has power. So if we all agree that she has power, who does she have power over, and what for? Yeah, Cora.
She probably has power over her voice, over fans.
She has power to influence, right? If Taylor Swift tells all of her followers, loyal fans, right? Or even casual fans, who, to go attack the Capitol, who to vote for in an election, don't litter, don't smoke, some of that, all that stuff. Those words carry some power, right? It influences maybe the way that people are going to behave or weigh in on a specific topic, because of the power of Taylor Swift, the power of authority, the power of her reach, if you will, the power of her um, method of getting the word out. She has a huge voice, right? So yeah, that's kind of what Taylor Swift's power and lack of authority looks like. What about a judge? Does a judge have power, authority, or both? He has both, or she, right? It can be a male or a female judge. So, what does a judge have authority and power over? Yeah, Cora.
So I think the authority is probably very obvious because like everyone has to bow, they have the authority to judge really, and they have like the power to decide whether someone goes to jail or doesn't go to jail.
Yeah. Can you ignore a judge's authority?
No.
No, right? Yeah.
That's not gonna help your case.
So if a judge fines you $500, that's not optional, right? You have to pay that. Yeah. Well, talk about a judge's power. What does a judge's power look like? Yeah. What's that? What they can rule on certain cases? Yeah.
Have power. Really, like when I say order in the court.
Order in the court.
Everyone has to be silent.
All rise. Order in the court. Yeah, you see a lot of, hopefully y'all haven't been in court for anything, but maybe you see it on TV. Judge Judy, right? There's power in her authority. Yeah. Were you guys going to say something? Yeah. Yeah. How does a judge acquire their authority?
Going to college.
Going to college?
From what other people have experienced by them.
By what other people have experienced by them? Yep. How do you get the job of judge in many cases?
Go to college to get a scholarship.
Do you have to?
No.
So if you want to be a judge someday, what in most cases what ultimately has to happen? Don't have to. But you're probably not going to make it.
You have to prove trustworthy.
Prove trustworthy, okay. So going to law school, getting a degree, right? If you don't have, we'll just say this right now, if you don't have those things, you're probably not going to be a judge. But that's not always the case. There are a lot of places actually where it's not mandatory. Now, I mean, good luck securing a position as a judge without having that. But it's one of those things where theoretically anything's possible. So how do you get to be a judge? Oh, you get hired. Who hires you? A different judge? Maybe.
Someone in authority.
Someone in authority. And who would that be?
The person in authority.
The government? Okay, sometimes. Someone who owns a law firm.
Someone who's paying for the case.
Someone that's paying for the case. I think of all those are all great answers. The one that I think is the closest answer is the government, right? So I think a lot of times, so there's all different types of judges, right? There's Supreme Court judge, municipal judge, pet court judge, judge, people's court judge, all that good stuff. But like Supreme Court, and kind of a lot of our federal judges, right, are selected by the president or Congress or governors. But who gives them authority? Who gives the president authority? God, kind of. What has to happen if you're going to become elected, right? So it's electors that give people in government authority and power, and by extension, then electors give judges their power and authority. And in many cases, right, you'll realize this when you become old enough to vote and actually do vote after you turn 18. A lot of your local judges, county judges, you elect directly, right? So when you are when you're going to the polls to vote for mayors and governors and presidents and Congress, all that other good stuff, many times you're also voting direct. Judges are right there on the ballot. Now most of those are kind of local and county judges, but the point is that judges, by and large, in some form or fashion, get their authority from the people that vote. How does a judge use their authority? Hopefully use it correctly. Yeah, court.
Send people to jail or send them home.
Send people to jail or send them home, right? They use their authority to what with the law? They use their authority to make sure that people are compliant with the law, right? And to punish people that violate the law. Okay, let's do a couple more here. Patrick Mahomes, authority, power, or both? Power? Anyone else? Anyone else for the authority? Both? Authority over his teammates? What about power? What does his power look like? Throwing the ball. What else? Does he have power over you guys? No? Anyone in here Chiefs fans?
We're all Chiefs fans. We just don't know.
The only time I've ever watched any sports was the Super Bowl last year, and I was forced to do that, and it was really boring.
Really boring. Okay, so let's. I want to talk specifically to folks here that are Chiefs fans and maybe casually follow the Chiefs. How do you feel when the Chiefs, and specifically in this case, Patrick Mahomes, are doing bad? Not good. And conversely, when they're doing good, how do you feel? Happy. So do you think that might be a little bit of power that Patrick Mahomes may have over you?
Well, when they're doing good, actually, I feel a little bit bad because my mom's cheering and it's really loud. It hurts my ears.
Your mom gets obnoxious during Chiefs games?
One of my neighbors on the air horn, and every time we score, they're down the street and I can hear it, so that's how.
And Patrick Mahomes does a lot of commercials, right? Yeah. Why do you think they have him do commercials?
Because people like him.
People like him, right? He has the power of influence, right? When people see Patrick Mahomes on State Farm, or I think Head and Shoulders. He does a lot of local stuff here, right? The thought is that he has the power of influence, to influence you to go sign up for State Farm, or to buy Head and Shoulders, or go to Hy-Vee, or whatever else is selling, Community America. So that's a little bit about his power and authority. Talk to me about, some of you said authority. What does his authority look like? You don't, right? Telling his teammates where to go. That's his authority, right? What if they don't listen to him when they tell him where to go? Yeah. Because Andy Reid will fix it. All right, one more on a power and authority standpoint. I'll let you guys decide. So I've got 8 here, so we'll pick between one of these two: your parents or your pastor. Which one? Parents. Okay, so it sounds like parents is the overwhelming favorite. So, do they have authority, power, or both? Both. Very good. Yeah. Very good. I think that's those are definitely good answers. So here's an interesting one. How did they acquire authority?
When they became parents.
When they became parents? God gave them authority. Specifically, where does the Bible? It's in the catechism. You were closer. You were very warm with the Bible, right? Everything else you're saying is kind of the 4th commandment, right? The 4th commandment gives your parents authority. And so for those that maybe don't have the order of 1 through 10 quite straight in their head, what does the 4th commandment say? What does this mean?
It's something about respecting. It's something about respecting love and cherish them.
Very good.
So it's like, don't disrespect other authorities, but honor and serve.
Very good. So underscoring that again, where do your parents get authority?
God.
Exactly. What about from a power standpoint?
I'll take away your call.
Yeah. For someone to have power, for someone to have power or influence over you, do you have to have a respect for their authority? Yeah.
If you don't respect their authority, how will they have power over you? A, B, get like wrecked.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's why you can leave your parents when you're 18, because then you're supposed to be mature, even though you're not.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting dynamic. I mean, we live in an age today where there's a lot of institutions, a lot of people that have authority, right? But yet there's a lot of people that maybe don't respect that authority, and so they've not respecting the authority and not accepting the power that those folks or organizations have over us. So that's an interesting concept, and so I would challenge you guys to kind of think about that. What gives people power? Is it their ability to influence you? Is it they're either positively or negatively? And if they don't have authority, why does that power influence you either positively or negatively? And if someone does have authority, why do they not have power? It's kind of an interesting thing to think about. And I don't know that that's something that we can figure out here, but I would encourage you guys to really think about that. All right. Let's move back. Let's move on. Do you have authority over anyone? Who? Your sisters? Yourselves? Your friends? So let me hear someone specifically tell us about their authority over another person or group and why they feel like they have that authority. So who in here has authority? Raise your hand. Okay, who gave you that authority? Okay, yeah. No, absolutely, right? Your parents leave the house and they say, hey, while we're gone, you're in charge, right? That's a great example. Did you have one?
Yes, I have my authority over my friends, but they don't listen. And then they get mad at me because they didn't listen.
Okay, well now let's think about that. You have slight authority over your friends. Who gave you that slight authority over your friends?
My experience.
Your experience.
Yeah.
So can you yourself as an individual grant yourself authority over another person or group? Probably not.
We're like in charge group, not like a.
No, you're going down a good path there, I think.
What came to mind was I used to go with my grandma to Hookersville.
Uh-huh.
And it's just like a bunch of people like talk about like moving
Sure.
and stuff. But there's like one person in charge that like started it.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're in charge of it.
But so at some point, right, there's one person in charge of it. That person started it, but whether it was formal or informal, the rest of the group was like, yeah, we recognize you in charge. You tell us what to do and we'll do it. Right? Yeah. A lot of times authority happens kind of organically, very much like that. So, but yet still the people that are in that guild, right, have granted that leader authority, right? Maybe they maybe didn't do a vote or all stood up at the same time and say, we grant you authority, but by their actions, by just kind of what they've naturally done, they have given that person authority. So, anyone else have any examples of how they have authority right now? Yeah.
Sometimes the teacher in the classroom will give the authority over the entire class.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. So when a teacher, right? A teacher is definitely a person in authority. They have to step out for whatever reason, and they'll put someone that they trust in charge of the class. They are giving you, at least temporary authority while they're gone. Anything else that anyone can think of type of authority maybe that they hold now or have held here recently? So the while you do have very limited opportunities for authority right now in your life, you definitely do, right? I mean, where maybe your parents or a teacher or even your friends, right, put you in a position of authority. If you have a group of 5 friends, maybe they've just by default, all 5 of your friends, whenever you guys are going to make a decision on what to do, they just default to you. They've given you authority, very informally. At what point in your life do you think maybe you'll have more opportunities for authority in your life?
When you become an adult.
When you become an adult. So at the age of 18, the legal age of being an adult, on that date you'll have authority.
No.
Well, no,
I'm moving up. You can have authority over your younger cousins, you can have authority at BVS, you can ask authority.
But how do you have to get that authority at BBS? Yeah.
there's somebody else who's not really.
So at what point in your life or points, right, will you have more authority or opportunities for authority in your life? When you're older. So at what age, Cora? In the future. So just some ambiguous date out there, and you'll just know it when you have it. Okay. What else?
You have authority once you kind of like get a job where that authority is needed.
Okay. So you guys at some point will get your first job, you know, with 16, 17, 18 or whatever, maybe doing it part-time, saving up for college or after high school or whatever. You're going to go work at, hypothetically, let's just say Chick-fil-A. Minsky's. All right. You're going to go work at Minsky's. They're going to hire you to come work after school. Day one, do you have authority at Minsky's? No. No. Yeah, Katie. But that person you have to move into has to recognize your authority, right? So, okay, that's a good one. Anyone else? Definitely when you have kids. Yep, absolutely, definitely as a parent. What about after high school? Will you have authority? So you walk across the stage, you get your high school diploma. Will you have authority? Yes. What? Ethan, were you raising your hand or just stretching? All right. What about after college? Will you have authority if you choose to go to college? What kind of authority? What about it? So we talked about when you have a job. I think the important thing is to remember here. I think by yourself, right? By yourself, whether just by turning a certain age, whether by getting a high school diploma, getting a college diploma, getting that, you know, first job, moving out on your own, you name it, right? There is nothing that you can necessarily do yourself to get authority. It has to be given to you. Agreed? And how do you earn that authority in many cases? You have to earn it, right? You have to earn it. It can't just be given to you. And so you earn it by, you know, providing a good track record of being able to do certain things a certain way, so that, you know, someone has the confidence to say, hey, you're an authority on this subject or this topic. I want you to be in charge of other people that may be less knowledgeable about this topic or this subject. So I think it's very important that you understand that you can't give yourself authority. You can do things, right? You can work on skills. You can gain experiences that will ultimately set yourself up for another person or a group of people to give you authority, either formally, informally. But you just can't walk out of this class today and all of a sudden say, "I have authority." Who cares? Okay, so let's think back about Mark chapter 1, verses 21 through 28, and specifically where he addresses the possessed man or the demon in this passage. Does Jesus have authority, power, or both over the demon? Both?
Does Jesus have God has power and authority.
So you all agree that in this passage that Jesus is displaying both power and authority. Is that what I'm hearing? Does Jesus have to, this guy that walks in and is causing a ruckus, possessed guy, right? Does Jesus have to wrestle the guy to the ground? Does he have to like beat him over the head? Does he have to twist his arm? No.
Has the power and authority
Using what
power and authority.
specifically?
Power.
More specific. How does he manifest his power and authority in this situation? Words, right? He's not physically doing anything to this person. He's not beating him over the head or kicking him or anything like that. He's using his words for power and authority. So by extension, then, when we read the Bible, when we listen to gospel, when we listen to a sermon, when we're doing devotion, is there power and authority there in those words? What do you guys think? Yeah. How does Jesus casting out the demon support or hurt his teaching with authority? So when Jesus casts out the demons with his words, is there anything in there that support or hurts his teaching authority? Yeah, it's by just using his words alone, right? That's a pretty good example of his power and authority, as opposed to having to get the guards or physically removing the demon or the person. Yeah.
It supports what you had been talking about before the person read. By the demon, it shows that what his words are true and powerful, and that what he was talking about is correct. How it is.
Yeah, exactly. When God created the world, how did he do it? His words, right? He didn't he wasn't in some workshop, right? Pounding away and making stuff. And it's like, oh man, this isn't going to work. And threw it in a scrap heap, and he did it by his words, right? And I think we see Jesus here doing the same thing. God as Jesus, using his words very much the same way his words were used as power and authority for the creation of the world, creation of the universe. All right, got about 7 minutes here. Are there people in your life who have power over you but not authority? She has power over you but not authority?
Yeah.
Explain that power.
Here we go. Miss Ashley Martinez. She has power over me. And sometimes she gets a little scary. She goes, Catherine, look at this. And I go, oh shoot, I'm in trouble. And she tells me to like do my like confirmation stuff. And she's like the only person I listen to for that.
So you have respect for her opinions or her thoughts. But at the end of the day, if you don't do what she says, right, there may be consequences, but not consequences that she's not going to beat you over the head and ground you or anything like that. No, that's a really good example. That's a terrific example. How does that relationship affect you, Katie?
Well, I joke about it a lot, and then, but besides that, it's like it's good to have someone that keeps me attractive.
It's a positive influence, right? Yeah. It helps you make yourself more accountable. Those are good people to have in our life for sure. How does that affect your relationship with God? Yeah, no, absolutely. And in this case, it's a probably a positive influence. Absolutely. Anyone else have any examples of how does where you have people in your life who have power over you but not authority? Let's what do you guys, someone tell me something that you like to do. Play Call of Duty. Okay. What's that? Star Wars Force Unleashed? Okay. Point class. All right. So just thinking about some of those things that you like to do, outside of school, outside of church, outside of family time, whatever. They have some, right? It may not be a person, but it may be more an activity or a hobby. They obviously have some sort of power over you, right? Influencing your behavior, right? Call of Duty, Star Wars, the video game, influences you, how you spend your free time. And in many cases influences how you want to spend your free time going forward. So how does that affect your relationship with God? Take some time away?
Or makes you
appreciate what you have. I think you're exactly right, Ashley. I think that it's good to have hobbies. It's good to do things that we like to do, enjoy our free time, all that other good stuff. But in many cases, in a lot of cases, and I don't know that we have this in here. I don't think we do. But in many cases, we let those hobbies, that free time stuff, consume us. Right? It takes away then from our relationship with God. We've got to find that healthy balance, right? And so I think we consistently need to look at what we're doing in our free time, in our leisure time. Is this taking away from our relationship with God? By doing this, is it pulling me away from consistent church worship? Is it pulling me away from Sunday school? Am I daydreaming about it right now as I speak? about playing Call of Duty when we get out of Sunday school? Does it cause you to daydream about that during pastor's sermon? If so, probably not pulling you away from your relationship with God. Now, with that being said, we're always going to have that, right? Everything that we do outside of what God commands us to do has that potential, and we're always going to stray away. And I think the main thing is to recognize that, right? Is this consuming me so much that I'm not spending time in God's word? I'm not spending time in fellowship. And when you recognize that, you need to steer yourself back on course a little bit. Yeah, Cora.
What if you've already written the answers on one of the sheets during conversation and they're talking about the answer, and well, they're saying the answer that you already know, and you're drawing weapons from within yourself?
Probably not good, but it wouldn't be the first time it's ever happened. It won't be the last time it's ever happened to you or anyone else. That's just the world that we live in, right? It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter if it's Zelda. It doesn't matter if it's Call of Duty. It doesn't matter what it is. Anything that distracts you from God's word is a distraction, and it's probably something that you should take back its power, and you have the ability to do that, right? Those things that distract you from God's word, don't give them that power. But I definitely don't want you guys to be, we're always going to have pursuits outside of, our faith life. And those are good, but just always check with yourself. Do they have too much power over you? So that's 10:15. So that's our finish time. Anyone have any questions, comments, concerns? All right, let's say a quick prayer and then we'll get out of here. Dear Lord, thank you so much for bringing us together today to learn about your word, to be in fellowship with you, and to discern the differences between the authority and power. Lord, you have ultimate authority and power over us in everything we do, and help us to recognize during our daily lives those things that may distract us from your authority and power and bring us back closer to you. Lord, keep us safe this week in our schools, our activities, and with our family. Bring us back together again next week so that we can worship you, receive your gifts, and talk about your word. In your name we pray. Amen. Thanks, guys. Have a good week.